I want you to mark my words. I want you to remember what I'm about to say. Write it down, take a picture, I don't care. Henry Ruggs will be a star in the NFL. Tee Higgins is the most overlooked prospect in this draft. Yo, everybody, how you doing? King Ding back here. So today we have come with the hell is that? It's a big ass dog. Dallas still stinks. Yo, everybody doing? King Ding back here, and yo, today I almost woke up with a mini heart attack. With a mini heart attack straight out of Sanford and Son. Hey, yo, Elizabeth, it's a big one. Seriously, because I woke up to a bunch of notifications saying Browns are shopping Odell Beckham. Minnesota Browns engaged in trade talks for Odell Beckham. I'm like, what? What is this? What do you mean Minnesota, not the Eagles? Why wouldn't the Eagles be in on this trade? If Odell Beckham's getting traded, you have to jump on that. You know, and then I'm like, well, maybe they're asking for a lot of first-round pick. No, they say, oh, Minnesota is looking to give a second and a fifth to the Browns for Odell Beckham. I would do a second and a fifth in a second to get Odell Beckham for the Eagles. No, I mean, do you realize how big that would be for the Eagles? Now, if Minnesota got him, that would be pretty scary. That would be a significant upgrade, in my opinion, than Stephon Diggs. That would be scary. Now, there have been reports since then saying that these are false. This is not true. So I feel a little bit better. But just the fact that I would get so worked up about a possibility of the Eagles not involving themselves in a trade for Odell Beckham or a wide receiver just shows you how much the Eagles need a wide receiver. It just shows you how much they need a guy. You know what I mean? The Eagles have to get faster on offense. Now, when I say fast, and maybe this is my fault and this is on me because I talk about fast and speed and I use those words, people just assume I'm talking about sprinters that run real fast. It's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about getting faster, getting more speed on offense. I'm talking about explosion, big chunk yard plays, lots of big plays, scoring touchdowns, 50 yards, 60 yards. Now, there was an article on Bleeding Green Nation, I'll put the link in the description, where it was talking about the need for teams to have big plays. And the teams that don't make them, they don't usually make the playoffs. The Eagles were actually an exception to the rule. Okay? And the Eagles do a pretty good job with explosive plays from the running game, just not in the passing game. But what I talk about is the need for guys that can make big plays, guys that can get chunk yards. And we all know I love Henry Ruggs. I love him. But it's not because he runs a 4.27. That's only a bonus. That's only icing on the cake. The real reason is because he's a pretty damn good wide receiver. Now, I was just listening to WIP just a while ago, and they had Ray Didinger on. Now, for those that don't know me, I am a big fan of Ray Didinger. I value his opinion to the utmost. I think he's pretty sharp. He's usually pretty accurate. And he said it himself. He said it. And it surprised me because I didn't know he was going to say it. He says, the guy the Eagles need, the guy that's the best fit is Henry Ruggs. And if there's a situation where Henry Ruggs is still at 15, he believes that the Eagles and Howie will make a move to try to get him because Henry Ruggs is such a great fit. And he said, this is what he said about Henry Ruggs, okay? This is what he says, and this proves my point, okay? He said, Henry Ruggs is not just a speed guy. He is not just a track athlete. He is a guy who is a Tyreek Hill type receiver. He has better hands than Tyreek Hill. He has better hands than Tyreek Hill, and he has the toughness of Steve Smith. Now, if you've seen Steve Smith play, you know he was a pretty tough son of a bitch. You know what I mean? And for him to say that he's going to be a Tyreek Hill with better hands and have the toughness of Steve Smith, This is what I'm talking about. Henry Ruggs is a good wide receiver. He has big hands. He can make catches in tough situations. He had 55 receptions. Who cares? He had one drop out of 55 receptions. I don't care about how many catches they make in a year of college. I want to know how talented they are and what their ceiling is in the NFL. Okay? That's what I want. That's what I care about. That's what that's what Henry Ruggs, Tyreek Hill, same thing, okay? Let's get his ass. He is the perfect guy. And not only is he perfect, and Ray was also talking about, he's versatile. You look at him, he's very versatile. You can put him in a slot, you can move him outside, you can move him all around. There's so much you can do with a Henry Ruggs. And a guy like Doug Peterson, with the way he would like to use guys, Henry Ruggs is a perfect fit. I am so glad I was able to catch that by Ray Didinger. I don't know if the podcast will be out for it. If it is, I'll put it in this link, but I doubt it will be out by the time this video goes up. So definitely look for it on WIP's site, because I'm sure they're going to put the podcast of that call in. What he said about Henry Ruggs is everything I've been saying. Henry Ruggs is the perfect fit. He will be a star in the NFL. And you mark my words, in 2 years from now, people are going to be saying, we should have went and got Henry Ruggs. Damn. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Henry Ruggs is a stud. Total stud. Matter of fact, I need to figure a shirt, if we do draft Ruggs somehow, because I still think that's the target. And he was talking a little bit about Justin Jefferson, and he echoed a lot of what I said. He's a very safe pick. Very good player. I think Justin Jefferson is a very good player. I think he will be. I won't be upset if we get him. But how versatile is he? On the outside, or is he just a slot receiver? Big question. We know a Henry Ruggs, you can move him all over the place. Okay? And I thought it was also interesting that he said if Henry Ruggs gets to about 14 or 15, somewhere around there, it shouldn't cost the Eagles more than a first or a third to get him. Okay? Would you do it for first and third? I would. People think that, when I look at a trade and I want to know how much it costs, I'll just look at last year's trades and see what a team did in the draft then, and it'll be the same thing. But it doesn't work that way. Every year, the valuation of draft picks and what it costs changes. It changes depending upon the depth of the draft, meaning how many good players are in the draft. And in this draft, especially at the wide receiver position, it's deep, so a lot of teams will be motivated to trade back. Okay? Second, how bad does a team feel like trading back? What are they trading back for? Do they need more picks? You don't know. Okay, so last year, you hear people talk, the Steelers traded it to cost them a second round to move up this much. That doesn't mean it's going to cost you that much this year. Every year is different. I remember, and I don't remember what year it was, but it was a while back. One year, Oakland was able to trade from 12 or 13 to 2 or 3. Okay, for a second round pick. That's all it costs. Then other years, it costs teams multiple first-round picks. It really depends on what the draft is, And in this draft is a deep draft. There's a deep draft, a lot of good players that are going to be available, in the late 20s and the 30s. So a team may be willing to take less to trade back to get more picks. So don't think that just because one year you were given one thing to get up to a certain point that you have to give that this year. It's not the case. It's not the case. You don't know until the draft is taking place. What if the Niners just really want to go back? What if the Raiders just really want to go back? They'll take less. So, it's not out of the question. Now, one other thing I have to talk about is Tee Higgins. I think Tee Higgins is the most overlooked wide receiver of this draft. And part of it is me too, because I have overlooked him. He's a guy that goes out and runs an official 4.56 according to Clemson's own site. And you look at his verticals only 30 inches, compared to guys like Ruggs who are over 40. And people think, well, he's not a good athlete and stuff like that. But when you watch Tee Higgins' tape, when you watch his tape, him playing, the guy's a stud. The guy's a stud. Matter of fact, I would take Tee Higgins before I would take Justin Jefferson. Okay? I like Tee Higgins that much. I have the top 3, you know who I like. Then I like Denzel Mims, Ayuk, and then Tee Higgins. I would put Mims, Ayuk, and Higgins in the same group. Maybe even Rager in that group too. Okay, so you have the first tier, which would be Judy, Lamb, and Ruggs. My second tier would be Mims, Higgins, Ayuk, and Rager. Okay, they're all in that same group. My third group would be Justin Jefferson, and so on. Now, I don't dislike Justin Jefferson. If the Eagles take him at 21, which is the consensus, I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna lose sleep. I'm not gonna be flipping out, banging walls down, things like that. I'll say, all right, okay, cool. Hope he can play outside. Hope he's more than just a slot receiver. But Tee Higgins, I think is going to be good. I think even though he runs a 4.56, he's big. I think he's still fast enough to give you what I talk about what the Eagles need, and that's explosion. The Eagles need explosion. Tee Higgins will give you it. My fear with Tee Higgins is more when he gets a little older, starts to put on weight. Does he slow down real quick, and then does that really hurt his game? Early on in his career, I think he's going to be very effective, very good. But I think Tee Higgins may be the most overlooked, even underrated in some ways, wide receiver in this draft. I hope somehow he falls into the second and we can snag him then and get a speed receiver at first, something like that. But Tee Higgins, and look, he's an X-wide receiver. He's going to play that spot. It's very hard position to play. It's very hard position to find. Shout out to Gate City Sports. He mentioned this. He talked about this before too. Those aren't the easiest spots to find. And for the Eagles to get a chance to get a guy like that, you got to consider Tee Higgins. I think Tee Higgins is vastly underrated and vastly overlooked. So that's pretty much all I had to say. I had to get this out. This is kind of stuff I wanted to talk about yesterday, just didn't have time. I may be doing a live stream later today, maybe doing one tomorrow. I don't know. I'm also working on my second mock now, so we'll see. But I'm sure either way, you'll hear from me later. With that said, take care. Talk to you later, and don't be a dingbat.